really sure how to begin with all of this. There's going to be a lot of mentions of heavy topics, so if you feel uncomfortable hearing strong topics, I would recommend you to leave the video. I've never really been good with words, but I also know that if I don't express myself one of these days, I might just explode, so I guess here we are. As usual, I'm not going to say any names, but if you were around that time, you might actually know what am I talking about specifically. I don't really have like a structure of where this should be going. I just want to share my thoughts, get it out of me so it doesn't eat the rest of my day. A while ago, I suffered a lot of harassment online, which included, we went from like insults to even doxing of my younger self, which kinda sucks. But there's a lot of stuff that I never really got to talk about, and to this day, kind of like everything that I try to do tends to be like tinted by this tinted. I think tinted is the word. I'm not exactly sure where to start because honestly, it was always there. Ever since I started developing my game project, Heartstrings, I've always received this like silent backlash. I'm not really sure how to explain it. Again, I don't want to say names, but there were a couple of people who had influence over other people that were already disliking me from day one. They didn't believe that I was suffering despite, me being like, I was very open back in the day with everything that I've been through, like being homeless, being poor, on top of being Latina, which is already another layer of complications by itself. I don't blame Americans for not knowing the actual situation of Latin America, but you can always just ask. The world is very different to how Americans live it every single day. And that's good, it's diversity, but sometimes I can't help but hope or wish some people would be a little more understanding that most of the world is not like America, which, good for diversity, but that means that our problems are very different and our solutions are also very different. So, culture is very different, way of speaking is very different. And I was always kind of hated from like the beginning. It was mostly silent, but I know it was there, so I tried to ignore it. I tried to just move forward, but it wasn't just one thing, I remember that as I continued to make my own stuff, I was trying to leave a very hurtful past behind. While I won't say names, I will refer to these people as the cult. I've talked about my experience inside of this cult a couple of videos earlier. You can check it out on the channel. It's a half-an-hour video. It's very rough, but if you want to listen to my experience inside of that cult, you can check it out there. I was being harassed by members of that cult, and it was like a constant reminder that no, you cannot escape us, you're still our little pet. And it kind of sucked. They were constantly contacting friends. They were contacting people around me, and I know that they have already attempted to hurt people in real life around me just to hurt me. It didn't just stop there. I am very good at analyzing other people's language, specifically written language. I'm also better when it comes to voice and face analysis, I guess you could say. Probably the one that I'm the worst at, it's probably the voice, but because I've written almost all of my life, I am very socially anxious, so I have a hard time speaking with my voice and communicating through voice. I've been communicating with language, with written language, so I can analyze text very easily. I noticed something about someone, a game dev. His writing, it was different from the usual writing. I could tell there was something off, and I thought I was alone on that. But then I talked about it with people around me, people who are also good with analysis like that. And they told me that no, I wasn't insane. He was acting very strange. And then I connected the dots. The cult people were harassing me, harassing friends on one part, and the other part, like the game dev, the language was just not the same. It wasn't just one person inside of those posts. It just wasn't one. I knew they were connected, and I knew that that cult leader in particular had a tendency to search people like that. With that cult member in particular, you know that the only real evidence you have is circumstantial evidence. That's like the main evidence you have before you know you're being attacked. It's one of those things that you can only really know once you live through it. But there's just some really evil people in this world. They're really, really evil people. People that won't stop with just telling you that you're ugly or just saying stuff online about you. They will try to hurt your family members. They will try to hurt everyone you love and care for simply because they want to destroy you. And I know by a fact that that man in particular is a monster. I know what he has done to those children. I know. I was terrified that they would try to aim for those people I care for too. My own audience, my own people. I was trying to keep it inside for most of the time, trying to ignore the taunts. But it just got worse. It got to the point of the game that I'm talking to some of my people in private. To my understanding, it wasn't just one. I do remember that at the time I was kind of forced to make videos regarding that rival game, I guess you could say. It wasn't because I wanted to. In fact, I did say publicly that I didn't want it to. But my husband, which was taking charge of my channel's management at the time, insisted that it was the only way that we could make money to survive at the time. Sadly, due to a lot of very bad migration stuff, racism and other things, he had a hard time getting a job. He did get it eventually, but after many months of trying, it was awful. So I had to be the breadwinner. And honestly, back at the day, my husband was not as empathetic as he is now. He did eventually apologize for pretty much forcing me to make those videos, even when I said that I didn't want to make them. But it was what he knew how to do, how to make it work. And for what it's worth, the videos were very popular. And they didn't seem to get low on views, so I just continued making them because, well, it provided financial security. And I couldn't really make other kinds of videos. I tried to make other kinds of videos and none of them really worked. The only thing that I received by trying to get away and make other content, even if I didn't like it, I was kind of just making stuff for survival. Of course, people didn't see that, and at least I was just the superficial face of it. And, I just started to receive death threats, rape threats, the typical on the internet, I guess. It was bad. Nowadays, if you ask my husband, he's very ashamed of, the things he made me record. He didn't want to cause me pain, but he didn't know how to do it otherwise. How to grow on YouTube without causing pain. That's the world he knows. That's the world he came from. That's the world that I tried to get him out of. And nowadays, he lives in a different world. So I guess that's why he feels so guilty about it. He didn't know any better, and he accidentally hurt me because he didn't know any better. So I don't really blame him in that regard, but the truth is that I still had to deal with all of that pain alone. I do remember that at some point it came to a boil, but it wasn't for the reasons people, I guess, canceled me for. Everyone called me a stupid, called me names, say that I deserved getting canceled because I said that a character was similar to another character. The thing is, it wasn't just that. It never is just one thing. It's just many. It's what you would call reactive abuse. Someone just provokes you until you react and then you're the crazy one. It wasn't just a design with a character. It was that the voice actress behind that character was getting harassed by the game developer specifically. It was that very same actress of that very same character. Of course I was pissed off. I'm tired of people trying to target those around me to hurt me. But it wasn't just that. Inside of the cult, I was given a name that I don't like to remember much, but I try to force myself to remember it just to kind of do this exposure therapy thing. I just want to expose myself enough to it so it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm slowly getting there, but recently it's just been getting difficult, so maybe I'll just stop for now. It is a very specific name with a very specific meaning, and that was used to torture me for years, pretty much. Well, not exactly a year if you only count the experience inside of the cult. That was technically just a couple of months. But if you consider everything that came afterwards, then yeah, it was years of torture. Years of torture given by a name that the cult pretty much decided to give me. I did tell them, like, I mentioned this in the cult video, I told them that I didn't want to be called by that name even in real life, but they just refused to. When a cult uses a created name and calls you by that name, it's a way to control you. It's a way to let them, to just let you know that you are under their control, under the name they gave you, and that you'll never escape them. I've been trying to escape them. I really did try. I wanted to start over again after all the shit we've been through. Being homeless and the supposed friends that we had, most of them left us behind. That shit is horrible. Feeling like you're going to die in a country you don't know, your family will never get to see your dead body, is something horrible. It genuinely is horrible. Of course I wanted to get away. Of course I don't like to fucking talk about my past because it's painful. But of course, because those people are evil, they kept doing it. And I guess it was a confirmation that that game developer in particular was talking to them, because in that very same post about the character, there was something that I never acknowledged, simply out of fear and pain, something that was way bigger than the other things. It was that name. It was written as like an option, an item, but it was that name. It was that name over again. How was I not supposed to snap? I was hungry. I was having the crumbling fear of death on top of my head. You know, I used to say that I didn't know if I was getting... It was like... I had a different story with that developer when I was a child. I didn't know what to call it back at the time. I remember that I did try to mention that very specific experience in the video around at like the end, when I made like, I guess, the call out. That dev talked to me when I was a child, and that he normalized a lot of stuff, such as me calling him names, something that, you know, shouldn't be normal. And people just took me not knowing if that was grooming as a way to harass me, saying that I deserved it. And even nowadays, I still get comments saying, oh, your groomer is so much better than you. I get comments like that on the daily. I just try to ignore them. But I do think that I can safely say now that I was groomed by him. Because people confuse grooming with the actual act of sexual assault. I will say it here, I do want to make a larger video with my husband talking about overall grooming and stuff like that. We both have stories with that. But grooming is not the act itself. If an adult sends inappropriate pictures or has inappropriate actions with a minor, that is no longer grooming, that's sexual assault. That's just a straight up sexual assault. And calling it grooming is just separates it from the other acts, but it's sexual assault. Grooming is not the act. Grooming is the preparation, in this case of a child, from an adult to have inappropriate conversations, to normalize them, so then it goes into something worse. And now that I have some time to really process what everything really means, I do think I was groomed. I don't think that it ever got to the point of me getting sexually assaulted. However, I was groomed. I had a normalization of pet calling, of being called cute, of having someone I consider an authority figure give me validation and stuff that shouldn't have given me validation, like talking about my schoolwork and stuff like that. I idolized that guy when I was a child. I really did, but he should have been the adult. I was a child who was already sexually assaulted by other people before this. And I used the internet as a way to cope, to escape with all the trauma, just to be hit with another wave of a 30-year-old normalizing shit that shouldn't have been normalized. 14, 15 years old, like little children, like the damage that came afterward, not because of that game developer, but by people afterward, it was so huge. I was eventually sexually assaulted by other people that I idolized as a child. precisely because this normalization happened to me when I was so younger. So it is grooming, it is preparation of a child for something. Even if that the preparation didn't exactly work for that person who did it, the preparation is still there, and it got used by other people in the future to continue the sexualization, and well, to continue the grooming, and then again to sexual assault. I was sexually assaulted by other people. That wasn't the game developer, it was other people in the future, but they used like that already preparation made by the game dev as like a starting point for them to continue the grooming. I got to this conclusion somewhat recently, so back in the day I didn't really know what to call it, and people took advantage of me being confused and just said that I was lying, that I was manipulating, that I was exaggerating. Pretty much they just believed people with no evidence, and then expected me to give evidence when I was already given evidence. So I don't know what logic is in there. People held onto the fact that I'm not very good at communicating, especially not back then when there was so much shit on top of me. On top of me being autistic, I don't know how to communicate properly. I'm also Hispanic. English is a difficult language for me. I've had a lot of problems precisely because back at the day, before I even had the Blue Kitten channel, I had a lot of problems understanding American culture, English language overall. The way that you guys make phrases is very different to how I make phrases, and they can mean very different things. Like just a single word can change so much the meaning that of course I was confused. We don't do that shit in Spanish. Spanish is usually like the entire phrase means something, but in English, if a single word can change something, then how do you expect me to know how to communicate properly? It's just so much pressure on just making a single phrase, and suddenly that phrase has like different tones depending on how you say it. It's so weird. It's interesting. The language itself is interesting, but a lot of people just expect other people, POC people, to just immediately understand how the language works. But we don't. In reality, we don't. It wasn't just a redesign. It wasn't just a character. It was so much. And people just turn a blind eye to everything. People say that I deserve to be harassed, that I deserve to be told that I should kill myself every day. And to this day, I still receive shit like that, being compared to my groomer. For what? For videos that I was forced to do, that I didn't want to do. Yet, because I lived in such a situation of poverty way back in the day, I was forced to do. Because I didn't see any other option, I couldn't do anything else. What else was I supposed to do? Maybe a white person could tell me, oh, you could have done this, except that that's blinded by your own view of reality. That's like saying people are homeless because they like being poor. That's just not how it works. It's really not. There's just so many things that it's little things that really affect the overall thing, make it something completely different. Just to put an example of how different lifestyles you can expect, for example, from my country Chile to the United States. I've seen that in some states the minimum salary is like $2,000. And everything is like twice as expensive as here. And yeah, that is expensive for Americans. But then you go to Chile, considered one of the most stable economic countries in Latin America. Everything is half the price of that state that I checked out in particular, but the minimum salary is $500. It's 1/4 of this minimum salary. You can only imagine that you can't do much with that salary, except live in crippling debt. That's just stuff about politics, I guess. It's just stuff like that, people say, oh, you should get a job in real life, except that in many jobs, a lot of the times they don't even pay you minimum, and they make up any excuse to say, oh, so like you weren't working every single second of your life, so like we're going to pay you less than minimum. So like you work for 50 minutes, I'm going to count like you didn't work for that entire hour. And you can't do anything. You can't really do anything. It's just a reality. And it kind of sucks, but you can't do much. So all you can do is try to survive. There's just many things. I try to keep most of that stuff inside me. I try to ignore everything. I try to ignore most things. But sometimes there's just this one lingering feeling at night that, maybe if I had only said things a little better, they wouldn't have hated me as much. But then again, I don't think that would have been the case. They would have just found another tiny detail to hold on to and to make the entire thing, while completely turning a blind eye to all the bigger problems. Real life is not about tiny problems, just a tiny thing that is so huge and that speaks so much about the person. There's not just one tiny thing that somehow reveals an entire different picture. That's just what the internet has made people believe, because that's what they see. Oh, the downfall of this person. They did this one thing and that showed a completely different side of them. But that's just not how it works. It's not just one thing, it's many different things coming together. And the entire picture can be completely different, depending on if you decide to ignore some things or decide to acknowledge some others. It depends on what you personally see as something valuable or something disgusting. I have a very different view on most things compared to most of the people I talked about. I don't know exactly how to feel about it. It just feels like I'm inside of a world that would probably never truly understand who or what I am. And to some people, it doesn't matter because everyone's different. But it does matter when everyone points at you and they only see one side, and they could be seeing the entire thing, but they just ignore it. And the worst part is that I cannot even blame them completely. This is just what we've come to expect from our own social norms. As Americans, the social norms are different. They're different to what I've seen here in Latin America. Not to say that Latinos are better, or that Americans are worse, or the other way around. I'm not saying that Americans are better and Latino worse. I'm just saying that it's different. And different can be difficult. I don't think impossible. But it surely becomes worse when you feel completely alone. When the only thing you can have is the viewpoint of people who simply have never been through that situation. That's like seeing someone in a time-sensitive situation, like you have 10 seconds to make this decision, and everyone is like, oh, that's like so obvious because of this, like an entire text of why one situation would be better than the other. Except that the person that is inside of that situation has only 10 seconds to think about it. And it's like the people on the outside expect that person that has 10 seconds to think about it to think as clearly as the other one do. That's just not... It's complicated. It's never really that simple. And sometimes I get tired of pretending that everything's fine. I get a little tired of pretending that lack of empathy doesn't hurt. People say let victims speak, hear the victims, except that if they don't actually like the victim because they think they're cringe, then they completely turn around. I don't know why people consider that being cringe is worse than, something that is considered personally to be worse. Like, I've seen so many memes of this in social media being like, oh, I might be this like horrible thing, but you were mean and that's worse. It really applies to people. It really does. But instead of being mean, it's just like, oh, this person may be so bad, but you're cringe and that's worse. It generally feels like that. Someone should probably make a base of a meme like that. It would probably be used a lot. Hey, I'm giving the ideas for a hit tweet, just saying. But yeah, I don't really think any of this will really matter in the long run. I mean, I can only make like a couple of videos talking about it, and probably I will never truly get everything out. There's always more to talk about. But maybe it's time for me to just rest for now. I've been holding a lot of stuff in, and at the very least I'm happy that I have this little side channel of mine to just express things. I have a personal policy to never say names no matter what, so while you can infer who these people are, in reality I don't even want to say it. I don't want to say it. I don't want to see that name again. I don't want to see that name again. But for now, I guess this is it. It does help a little, just a little. See you in the next one. Bye.